Yes, it is that time, and I need complete honesty if we're gonna do this. Have you played a Silver Sky, and how were you able to answer the big question? How similar is it to a Strat? You see, about 8 years ago, I remember looking online. It was like my first year of guitar playing, and I just wanted to know some like random guitar store conversation pieces. You know, those type of conversations that you have where you want to impress people, like, oh yeah, the 65 SG is just so much better than the 67. You know, literally just to try and impress people. And Google ends up recommending to me this article that says John Mayer is leaving Fender. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I knew it was big because all my friends had told me, John Mayer, Strat, Fender. That is guitar. I had even bought a Strat that year, like I've talked about before, simply because I was like a John Mayer and John Frusciante fanboy. So it was time to like freak out. And I did. And he even had a couple interviews where he was like, yeah, I'm just ready to move on to the next stage of my career. And I was like, cool, John, you do you. And a couple years later, we learned that he was joining PRS. It was a big thing, and I think for a lot of like Stratty single coil players like myself who love PRS, I even had like a custom SE24 at one point, but they didn't at the time, I think, have a real single coil guitar. Like the SE24 custom and the SE24 standard, both were humbucker guitars that you could split, but they didn't have that true Strat competitor yet. Then after a couple years of being on PRS, we saw the pictures, and he finally announced it. He was making the Silver Sky, and he was coming out with it for the public. And I remember being so excited and telling my friend, like, okay, even if the price is too high and I can't afford one, I'm just gonna take my PRS neck and I'm gonna take my Strat body and I'm gonna build a parts caster Silver Sky. And he was like, Mike, does your guitar even have a bolt-on neck? And I was like, I don't really know what that means. I remember the guitar was ready to go live, and then I saw the price, and it was like 2,600 bucks. Just to put that in context, the most that I had spent on a guitar at that time was about 600 bucks. The most that I had spent on an American Strat at that time, I had gotten a Highway 1 for 450 bucks. So I was like, okay, that's 5 to 6 times the price. Looks like I'm not getting this guitar. So for about 3 to 4 years, I pretty much had admitted to myself that Silver Sky was never gonna happen. I mean, I had never thought in my mind that I would ever own a guitar over like $1,500 in the electric range, let alone a guitar that was close to $3,000 with what I was trying to do with production and guitar at the time and what I needed. But then we got a little announcement that he was finally going to be making an SE model. Yeah, and like I said before, there aren't really many true single coils in the SE model, even though I know a lot of similar bluesy and more soulful players who love PRS. This was going to be their first venture in a long time into having that single coil guitar. It wasn't even that I didn't have the money for it, it was that these guitars sold out, and I wanted to know if it was actually worth the hype. And even a year ago, going around different guitar stores, I couldn't find one to play. I've only played a Silver Sky once or twice in a guitar store for maybe 15 minutes, and as many of you know, you can't really get an accurate depiction in a guitar store where 200 people over the last year have played it. It has dead string. The amp you're playing through, you don't want to blast it because you know you'll be obnoxious to the person sitting next to you. So here, right now, today, I decided it was time. Let's try this bad boy out. First of all, I'm gonna need to actually find a way to get one.
3 days later.
Hey there! Yeah, I just left, but I found something interesting on the side of the road. Look at that! Wow! It's a Silver Sky SE. Let's get the headstock in there. First thing I'm noticing is it's not that heavy. It's gonna be interesting to finally try out a PRS with a 5-way selector. Let's see how this thing actually sounds. All right, I'm really excited. Let's see what we think. We have the John Mayer guitar, so we have to do the thing. I've been using the DS1 more recently, but you know, this is a Mayer signature guitar, so I need to turn on the tube screamer for this one. The feel is the biggest thing that's different from what I expected. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was playing the GNL. It just feels good. And I haven't even been to like the bridge position, not the neck position, the bridge position. The bridge position on a Strat, my least favorite thing. So I'm gonna try it out with some heavy stuff. Let's try that woman tone. I mean, there's no questions asked. I love it. I think, like I said, the neck being wider I thought might bother me a little bit, but I think the verdict on this guitar is not necessarily about this guitar, because this is like one of the better guitars I've ever played for under $1,000. Let's just be honest. Other than that one 10-minute portion that I talked about in the guitar store, I don't know if I've ever played a real Silver Sky. So my big question would be, is it worth $1,700 extra? Because if it is, then we're talking about like one of the best guitars on the market right now. Especially just having played that American Pro 2, which is like $1,700, and being floored by that. I'm like, that's $700 more than the American Pro. So I'm like, how good is this guitar actually? And even going back to this one, we're just in this weird place where like Mexican Strats and like even the Epiphone line with the Slash models and this with the SE models, like the non-American made guitars are just getting so freaking good. I mean, the price is clearly going up on these non-American made instruments. I mean, this is $850, the Player Strat is $850, but like it gets me thinking, in 5 years from now, will Squires be like $1,000? But even if they are, will they put just like crazy electronics in them, and will they be able to sound like unbelievable? But we'll talk about Squire in a different video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Just finding this in the street was crazy. Actually, no, my friend Joe let me borrow it. He's the man. But you don't have to be like me, just stealing guitars from your friend Joe. You can actually get a Silver Sky to own and keep if you want from the homies at Sweetwater. Or if you just want to know anything else about any of the gear that I used in this video, all the links are in the description. Make sure to check it out. Also, if you played both the SE and the American Silver Sky, let me know what you thought of it and what you thought of it in comparison to like Fender's line of like American vintage guitars going out right now. If you had a good time, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, have a fantastic day.